One. I see Tom. Yo, yo, yo. This is not the smartest guys in the room. How is everybody doing today? My friend Tom, you're looking handsome as ever. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, buddy. I'm doing well. Hanging
Excellent.
in there.
Are you
Trying
hanging
to
in there? I hear you're on a few weeks solo. Family's out of town. So are you just like eating popcorn all night long and like fatty foods and going out for tacos every night? Or do you like play it straight?
what's popcorn?
There you go. There you go.
Is that like popcorn, but
It's
but
it's
like
better.
for dogs or something?
No, we decided in my area that U's and O's all sound the same to us. So we've just eliminated, there's no need for clarification when it comes to U's and O's. It's just wasting time, Tom.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, actually, gotcha.
You're
Yeah, yeah. No, so yeah, actually, no, because I cook. Like I'm not some I'm not one of those like floundering, helpless people when my wife is out of town. In fact, um, out of like for the two of us, right? We sort of like our like complementary skill sets are that Becky is like sort of the baker and she likes making bread and she's been doing she's had a sourdough starter going since before it was cool, right? So since like 2017, 2018 was when she first started doing sourdough, like a couple of years before the pandemic, right? And so like the pandemic hit, everybody was like, "Oh, sourdough is this new thing." She's like, "Yeah, I've been doing that for years, whatever, guys." Um, but anyway, she's the baker and I'm the cook. Like out of the two of us, like our skill sets are kind of divided pretty well in that way. So yeah, so um uh she would tell you that I'm a better cook than she is. And yeah, so like I just been cooking for myself. So I've just been like, make like last night I had a Thai kind of Thai inspired spinach and chicken curry over rice. So like, am I eating popcorn for dinner? No.
It's an impressive palate you have. And I spent some time with you and I saw your palate was a well rounded palate. So well done, Thomas. Uh, all right, go on. What you got?
I was just gonna say, I try. I mean, I've been cooking since I was a teenager. So I started cooking when I was a kid, and yeah, and kind of have always cooked. So yeah, so I'm pretty adept in the kitchen. I cook for my fire department. I cook for them all the time. I made chicken scapriello for them for dinner a couple of weeks ago for the monthly meeting. So you know,
I like it. That's my new thing. I'm into like making sauces based on what I think and gravies based on what I think. I'm like, well, this, if I put enough roux in this, this will, I can get this into a sauce. And I'm there whisking, whisking, whisking. And it starts off as the world's thickest sauce. I'm like, I need another glass of wine in there. And, and so that's what, but eventually enough butter, enough wine, it is turning out okay. Tom, today we are talking, everybody, here's what we're going to talk about. Is the whole world gone mad? Is the whole world dependent on AI now? AI, maybe we are dependent. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we're too reliant on it. Tom, I am in the book business, publishing. I get a lot of manuscripts through. More and more and more are heavily reliant on AI, and sometimes I pick up the same pattern. So sometimes I see great authors, and it's really clear on my side now the talent versus the heavy reliance on AI. And when I'm seeing the talent, it's like such a beautiful thing. And then when I'm seeing, wait, your book looks just like the last guy's, and the chapter ends the same way as the last guy's, and your last chapter ends the same way, and this chapter ends the same way, and this chapter ends the same way, and I mean, I'll have to like change contracts and change how I accept the book. My business will change because of how much AI driven content is coming in. And so just my last thought before I get to you on this right now, I believe in it for disseminating of content. I believe in it for a quick edit. I do not believe in it for creation of ideas, develop like over development of story, like telling story. I don't believe in it for that. So I'm confused, Tom, and that's why today a lot of times you come up with the question. Today I was like, okay, here's where we're going today. So go on, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think part of the problem with this is there just isn't a high enough level of fluency yet with AI. People are sort of overestimating its capabilities, overestimating its use cases, and over relying on it to complete tasks for them. And I think that's kind of where the problems start to pop up, and the problems that you're talking about, where people are like wholesale having AI write chapters of books for them, right? Or wholesale write books for them. The problem is to me, like, that demonstrates a fundamental lack of understanding into what AI is and how it works. And I was that kid that growing up would like take his toys apart to figure out how they worked and then take pride in being able to put them back together and get them to work again, right? Like, I think when I was a kid, people thought I was going to be an engineer, until I opened my mouth and I started arguing with them. And then they were like, "Oh, you're going to be a lawyer like your dad." But and I didn't do either of those things. I went into TV. So, you guys were all wrong. But my point is that it's always boggled my mind that people demonstrate such a fundamental lack of understanding of the things that they rely on a daily basis. And just by way of an example, I would be willing to bet that a majority of people who are listening to this, who hear this, don't actually understand how an internal combustion engine works, and don't really understand why their car goes down the road when they put it in drive and press on the pedal, right? And like, that fundamental lack of understanding is why people get stranded and stuck, right? Where they would, if they had a little bit more knowledge and had spent a little bit more time developing knowledge around a tool that they rely on, they'd be able to get themselves unstuck. And so I think we're seeing a parallel kind of situation to that with AI, right? People just don't understand how it works. They don't understand that people are like, "Oh, it feels like it's guessing." Well, like, yeah, duh. Of course it is. That's what it does. Like, it's Occam's razor, right? Like, the most obvious explanation, the simplest explanation is most likely the correct one, right? So like, if it feels like it's guessing, well, guess what? It's because it is, right? The large language model AI programs that people are using, right, on a regular basis, right? Claude, ChatGPT, etc., Copilot, right? All of them are basically really, really sophisticated autocompletes, right? You give it a prompt and it takes that information, and based on that information, it makes its best guess based on a vast, vast archive of information, right, that it's been trained on. It takes its best guess at what the correct answer is for your query, right? So like, if it feels like it's guessing, it's because it is. And if it feels like it's repeating itself, it's because you're giving it similar prompts over and over again, and it leads to repetition in the answers because it is not creating stuff. It is simply guessing at what it thinks the right sequence of words are to follow what it is that you're asking, right? Like, what comes next, essentially. In the same way that as you're typing on your phone, sending a text to someone, words will pop up above the keyboard, at least on iPhone. I'm sure it's relatively similar on Android phones, but like, you'll be typing and words will pop up and you can just hit the word to autocomplete it, right? It's guessing at what the likely next word is based on the words that precede it. That's exactly what these large language models do, right? So you're absolutely right. It's not good at creating, right? It's not good at development. It is good at rapid iteration, right? And I think that's where these tools really shine, right? Where you can rapidly iterate and use it as an accelerator to get you to the place where you want to be, right? To get your thinking, to get your development, to get your productivity up. That's where these tools really shine, but they do not function well on their own. You should not trust them to function well on their own. You always have to supervise their work and double check it, right? Because at the end of the day, they have some inherent kind of biases and problems built into them. They tend to be, they tend to try to tell you what you want to hear, right? Rather than, um, uh, rather than actually like telling you what you need to hear. So yeah, so there's a lot of sort of provisos and things that people need to keep in mind with these systems that they don't. But I think the fundamental problem is people just don't get how they work, and they're overestimating their capabilities, and they're over relying on them. And that's how we end up in a place where people submit, chapters of a book to you, and the end of multiple chapters are identical to each other, and it's because, that's the best guess that the large language model had for what was supposed to come next.
100%. And I want to point out how obvious it is when you're reading like a larger book or a chapter or something like that. So when I look at this, when I look at the Clubhouse app here, I'm seeing people's thumbnail pictures, profile pictures. I see 3, 2, 1, 4. Like there's 3 pictures, 2 pictures, 1 pictures, 4 pictures, and that's how it shows up on my app. When you read a book that is over AI generated, so much of the pattern is 3 lines, 2 lines, 1 line, 3 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines, 1 line. It's the same, and you could go to the 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 line sentence, 2 line sentence, 1 line sentence, 1 line sentence, 2 line sentence, 3 line sentence. And looking at it from afar, it's even more obvious than if you're down in it. Like if I told, like for Talex Media, if I said Tom talks about legendary humanizing the world of business. If I said make me 32-line post on that basic comment, humanizing the world, there's not many ways you can go from the core is there, humanizing the world of business. Here's what I do. When you do 40,000 words, 60,000 words, 100,000 words, and you're using that same model, now, like you're saying, repeat, pattern. And it's like, come on, we can do, and to your point, Tom, people just don't know. And they don't know that other people know or other people are seeing. And as a publisher of books, it's becoming so prevalent that it's only a matter of time before the Amazons and the Barnes and Nobles scan and say, hey, your books, you could see how much of a book is developed by AI and things like that. So go on.
I think the other thing too that people that is a very common thing. It's highlighted more in ChatGPT, but I see it in Claude as well. Is this tendency towards sycophancy, right? That the AI tends to tell you what it thinks you want to hear, right? If you ask it, does this make sense? It'll be like, yeah, absolutely, it makes sense. That's a great idea, Tom. Way to go, right? It's very sycophantic, and there's some argument that the prevalence of that on the ChatGPT model is actually a reflection of our good friend, the CEO of Open AI, Sam Altman, that he is sycophantic, that it's part of kind of the way that he deals with people. And he's been accused of, and seems relatively credibly, and by a lot of sources who have, close relationships with him, that he'll just tell you whatever you want to hear. He thinks you want to hear to get you to kind of go along with whatever he wants to do, right? That he is very sycophantic in that way, and he uses it as a tool to get what he wants. And so there's some supposition that part of the reason why OpenAI in particular's model is so sycophantic is because of Sam Altman, right? Which I don't know how true that is, how much water that carries, whether that's a glass or a sieve in terms of how well it holds water, but it's interesting to think about. But yeah, that sycophancy thing is also something that people underestimate and don't push back on. And like, it's one of the things that I do on a regular basis when I'm using AI is I will turn around and say, don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me the truth. As near as you can render it from the available information. Search the internet, blah, 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 blah. Like, I will give prompts where I specifically say, don't tell me what you think I want to hear, right? The other problem, and I didn't mention this to begin with, but it popped into my head. I think the other problem that people run into is the way that these large language models interact with us is programmed and designed to be reminiscent of human interaction, right? So like they talk to us, right? They talk to us the way people talk to us, right? I shouldn't have done air quotes on the people. They talk to us the way people talk to us, right? That's the better way to do it. Anyway, they're programmed that way, right? To make that interaction more natural. The problem is when we interact with someone who communicates with us the way another human does, it signals to us that we're talking to someone with human level intelligence, and you're not. Right? You're talking to a really sophisticated autocomplete program, right? And so you're not talking to human level intelligence. You're not dealing with, a level of intelligence that even remotely approaches what human beings are capable of, right? So that's another problem that we run into is we're kind of tricked into thinking that, hey, this AI is really smart. And it's like, well, no, it's really good at what it does. Absolutely. But it's not smart the way people are smart. It's a very specific, narrow, focused level of intelligence, but it's not anywhere close to approximating or close to the capability of human intelligence. And because of the way it interacts with us, we sort of start to attribute human-like intelligence to it, and it's totally off base. It doesn't make any sense.
Tom, so true, so true. Let's hear from our friend Holly. Holly is an editor. So, Holly, would you please tell, and a podcaster, would you give us an example of how possibly it makes writing better, and then maybe how you've seen things go the other way, if you have? What's your take on it, Holly?
Hey, good morning. Yes, as an editor, I have seen the effects of AI in writing, and I'll just, as far as making it better, I'm not going to say that it doesn't, because I think there's instances where it can, but I think it's a negative thing because of the writing patterns that AI throws out, the sentence structure patterns, the M dashes, the overuse of certain words, and it gets monotonous if it's in the writing too much. It's like you're reading the same cadence, maybe. I don't know the right word for it, rhythm over and over and over with just slightly different wording. And a lot of times it's the same information just worded in a different way 2 or 3 times. And that's always those things that I've just listed are always a huge red flag to me when I'm editing, to know that somebody has taken something and plugged it into AI and either rewritten it with it or started with it, however it worked. So I'm not going to say I'm not a fan, because I do think it has a place in our world, and I think it's something we're going to have to learn to work with and use to the best of its ability for what we do. But for writing, I'm not sure that's the best way to use it, to rely on it as a writer. Does that make sense?
Holly, I'm glad you weighed in on it, and I appreciate you sharing what I like what you said about using it as a tool. Agree 100%. I was watching a morning show today, and somebody was anti AI, and they had said they never used AI before. And the guys talked about, like, well, you would use, just because you've never been on a bicycle doesn't mean you don't use it. You get on a bicycle and use it the way it's supposed to be used. Figure out how to use it positively. Same with AI. It is a tool. And so you try it out and figure out how to use it positively in a way that impacts, I guess, the world in the good, or your day in a positive way. Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, Holly, I think again, people are over relying on it, right? Like, people are saying like, "Oh, write me a chapter about this," right? Make it about this many words, whatever, whatever. One of the things that, because these large language models are essentially really sophisticated autocompletes. They're good sort of predictive text producers, right? And so if you have the ability to, like, what I would encourage people to do, and this is one of the ways that I use it, is I've trained it on my writing style, right? Like, I have a fair amount of writing that I could feed into it, and I can say, with that sort of repository of information, I can tell it to act like me and write a draft of a newsletter on this topic that makes this argument. Search the internet, find examples of that support that argument, provide sources for those examples, and double check all the information that you provide, right? And then it'll deliver to me something that is a good rough draft, right? And then I can take that rough draft and I can edit it into something that is a newsletter, right? And so, like, for me, it's a productivity tool, because instead of sitting down with a blank page in Microsoft Word or something like that, I can start with the sort of spine, or a little bit of frame for my newsletter, and then simply edit it into shape and make sure it makes sense, and read it over 3, 4, 5 times. And I can write a newsletter in half an hour instead of an hour plus, right? So it's a great productivity tool for that. But I also have the benefit of having a book, of having, almost 100 editions of my newsletter that I can feed into it, right? To say, here's how Tom writes. Now I want you to pretend that you are Tom and write this, right? And it can do a relatively decent job at creating a rough draft. But you always have to edit it, and like edit it line by line. And I think that's where a lot of people don't put in the effort, is they don't go line by line. They don't read it sentence by sentence. They just go skim, skim, skim. Okay, that seems pretty good. Skim, skim, skim. Okay, that seems pretty good. And to Dom's point earlier, they miss some of the patterns that emerge from AI's writing. I actually think Claude's gotten worse at writing over the last couple of months, and which is an interesting sort of phenomenon, and I'm not really sure why that's happening on their side, but it seems like it's gotten worse at writing, which is a little bit weird. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on using it for a writing tool, Holly.
Tom, that's good stuff all around. And I might agree with you that maybe the thing's getting worse. And if it's picking up patterns and using all these people's information, maybe there's more bad information in it. Teresa had a question here. Teresa, do you want to ask your question? Go on.
Yes. So if you have written works and they're somewhere out there on the internet, because your book's available on Amazon and Barnes, how do we keep AI from gleaning your words and reusing them for someone else's AI benefit?
I'm going to say you're probably not, unless you're copywriting, suing. But once it's on all those open source platforms, where they're getting the information from, I think you have zero
But I'm
chance.
thinking okay, so the actors are really into AI. They don't want these computer generated movies to take over their jobs. What I think that because you can go lobby Congress for anything that you want, but I don't think there's anybody out there lobbying Congress for copyright, you know, leave my written work alone. Leave tell AI to stay away, you know. I mean, we have copyright in the beginning of a book. It's there. We don't want it to be ignored is what my, you know, how do we do that?
Yeah, that's all fair points. Hey, I invited you to come up. She says we're upset about AI. She says it levels the playing field. We use it all the time. See, we're not upset about it. We're calling it out. I'm calling it out when it's weak. If I see somebody's writing that's weak, or that they used it and they picked up a pattern that has been used 1,000 times, that's not good writing. So, in the point where somebody takes a transcript and turns it into a newsletter, more power to them. It's theirs or disseminates in another way. But if you're just stealing 50 people's ideas from the internet and calling it your story, I don't know. I'm not going to defend that, and I would be angry about it because it's weak. It's not yours. Dr. Tachi, let's go before we get to Tom's thumbs. Good morning, and you want to weigh in on this usage of AI? What do you got for us, Dr. Tachi?
Good morning. Yes, and this is actually apropos because today is the first day of summer classes from my university. So I'll be dealing with, in the coming weeks, looking at the work they're doing and deciding if it's AI they're using or they're actually using their God-given brains. But I think that, so this is part of the thing. I think we're heavily dependent on AI. Some of us are heavily dependent on AI, but let me take it from this angle. I think that things have been gate kept for so long that now this offers an opportunity for people to slide into places where they couldn't before. So, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. I mean, it could be an aspect of both. So, case in point, let's talk about film and media, etc. So, the fact that you have tools now that allow the average person to create media content and not have to beg anybody else to do it for them or pay anybody else to do it for them is a huge game changer. And it's the same thing with, let's take a look at AI film. Now, do I have a problem with some of the ways that it could be used and take away from the industry? Yes. But do I also see the promise in it? Also, yes. So I think that many industries have for so long said, who can't be a part of this, who can't do this, who can't, that in a small sense, and this is just a small sense, that AI can become a democratizer for information and for creation, providing you already took the time to understand the craft in the first place. So if you already, what I'm looking at and creating AI films, etc. now, and I've been taking classes on it, but I'm already a filmmaker. So I already understand what it takes. So now what I do with AI is just going to enhance it. So for people who take the time to understand the craft the way it currently is, I think it's a democratizer to use AI to help to get into places you wouldn't be able to in the first place. Now, again, this is all relative, but these are just my thoughts. I digress.
Good stuff, Dr. Tachi. We appreciate you being here, and I want to hear from Tom directly on this before. Go on, Tom. What do you got?
About what part, Tom?
Dr. Tachi, from a production, if you understand how to use it, it's a good tool. And my favorite part about it was the leveling the playing field. I can see that. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, absolutely there is something to be said for for the fact that using AI, if you already have a skill set, to further that skill set makes sense. But if you don't understand the basics of what you're doing, if you don't have a grounded understanding of the skill set or the industry or the work that you're asking AI to do, then you run into problems because you can't supervise it, and it needs supervision. So if you have a skill set as a filmmaker and a storyteller, and you want to use AI to accelerate the work that you're doing in that arena, great, right? Similarly, if you have a skill set as a writer and you want to use AI to accelerate your work in writing, great, because you have the requisite skill set to supervise it. But if you decide you want to become a filmmaker and you're going to use AI to do it, well, guess what? It's probably not going to work out super well. And that's because you don't have the skill set to know when things are wrong, right? And that's really what it comes down to is, can you tell when AI is wrong? And if you can't, right, if you don't have enough of a grounding and understanding to have that red flag go up, right, to have that BS alarm start ringing when AI feeds you a line of bull, then it's not going to go well for you.
Good stuff, Tom. All right, here it is. It's that time of the day. Fabulize. We're coming. Just wait a minute. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We're a podcast. We're on Clubhouse. We stream it everywhere. We love you being here. We do this every Wednesday. Thank you for your questions, for asking questions, for bringing your expertise. We need you. Thank you. All right. And the next thing we need is Tom's thumbs. So Tom, who always has an opinion, we want a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So Tom, I went a couple different ways on this today, but in honor of summer, I'm Pittsburgh, so we're somewhat East Coast. You're in New York. You're more East Coast than me. I want to know. A lot of people don't know about this because they've never been there before. What does Tom think, thumbs up or thumbs down, to a wholehearted East Coast wooden boardwalk?
Interesting. So I think, and you've gone and you've spent some time on the Jersey Shore. I think you do in most summers, or even if you go down further, obviously there's sort of beach towns all up and down the coast of New Jersey and down into Maryland and Virginia. And then you get further south into the Carolinas, right? They're all kind of along the eastern seaboard. And then of course, up into Massachusetts and Cape Cod, you have these like beach towns that have boardwalks, right? And it is, I mean, it's not an exclusively East Coast thing because there's obviously boardwalks and piers out on the West Coast as well. And there's even some in the Great Lakes, right? Like Cedar Point is kind of, reminiscent of that. And there's the big, the Navy Pier in Chicago. So yeah, I mean, I think, does an East Coast boardwalk get a thumbs up for me? Yeah, it does, right? There is something nostalgic about it. And I'll give you a specific example. And this is not the season for it, but it's something that we do every year for a number of years now. Becky and I have gone down to Delaware, to Rehoboth Beach, in the beginning of December to participate in, on some level, the Rehoboth Beach Marathon. So originally we started going down so that Becky could run it. I've now run it several times as well. This year she's going to run it. I'm going to be hanging out with Isla, cheering her on while she's running. Excuse me. And then as a tradition, we go and get fries after the race. We go to this place, and I'm trying to think of the name. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to look it up real fast. We go to this place and we get like a bucket of fries, and it's called Thrashers, and they're at a bunch of different places, but there's a Thrashers in Rehoboth Beach right on the boardwalk, and we walk down there afterwards and we get a bucket of fries, and the only thing they have is salt and vinegar, right? Like there's no sort of like, you're not dipping ketchup, you're not doing any of that. It's salt and vinegar. So we'll go down there, we'll get a bucket of fries and go, like, walk down to the beach or go hang out on the boardwalk and walk around a little bit and eat the fries. And it's kind of become a tradition. One of the guys that we've often gone with, I don't think he's going to be there this year, unfortunately. A couple of years ago, he had a few beers after the race and then got a bucket of fries and pretty much ate the entire thing himself, which was impressive. But yeah, it's a good time. I mean, I think the only time I've not been a fan of a boardwalk is in Atlantic City, down by the casinos. It's a little depressing. And it just kind of feels a little sad because a lot of the people coming out of the casinos are like, retired folks on fixed incomes. And apparently there's like a big upswing in traffic at like the 1st and the 15th of every month, depending on when they get their checks. So that's a little sad, right? That's a little depressing, but overall, I mean, for nostalgia, going to the arcade on the boardwalk, getting fries on the boardwalk, getting an ice cream cone and walking on the boardwalk, right? For all those things, I think growing up on the East Coast, it has some strong nostalgia for me. And so, I'll give it a thumbs up. East Coast boardwalk, thumbs up for me.
Tom, I'm very pleased with you today. And the Thrasher fries, I too enjoy Thrasher fries. We tend to head towards Ocean City, Maryland, but I've been to all of them, Rehoboth, Atlantic City. And so I want to, Tom, your exclusion of thumbs up, like thumbs up except for Atlantic City. There's been times where I've been to Atlantic City. One time I like left my phone or my wallet like at an ice cream shop like 20 doors down at nighttime in Atlantic City. And I was, let's say it was 20 years ago. And I ran at night out on that boardwalk down to get whatever I left. I don't remember what I left there, but when you walk out on that boardwalk at 10 o'clock at night in Atlantic City, it's a little bit different. So, Tom, can I add that exception to your boardwalk thumbs up?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think Atlantic City is a thing into and of itself. If you haven't spent time there, it's weird, right? It's sort of like, it feels like it, no matter when you go there, and no matter kind of the state of things, it always sort of perpetually feels like you've showed up just after its prime, right? Like no matter when you're there, it could be 10 years ago, it could be next year. It will always feel like you've showed up like about 2 years after it peaked, right? Like it's on the downhill after its prime all the time.
That's a good take. And I'm saying this right now, Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce, if you want to prove me, we're always saying people should be giving me and Tom things and let us try them out. If you want to bring me and Tom to Atlantic City and show us all that you have to offer, here, I'm extending that to you right now. You can take us and prove us wrong, Atlantic City. There we go. All right, this is not the smartest guys in the room. We're talking about, is the whole world dependent on AI? I saw some people arguing in the comments. We like that. This is a good place, a safe place. So we always give everybody their space. I'm going to read these comments. Somebody was mad. Somebody said something's valid. Somebody told somebody they went to college for nothing. That's not nice. It's all about what the public wants. It can be a hot mess, but then the money comes. Let's see. There's a lot going on here. Okay. Somebody wondered why they're not lobbying. They said there's not enough money for lobbying. Okay. So I got Fabulize here. We've never met Fabulize before, but she said she wanted to weigh in on Claude. So Fabulize, if you want to weigh in on Claude, have at it, my friend.
All right, thank you. Good morning. I'm in Jersey too. I'm not on the shore, but I'm near Newark Airport. So I guess we're almost kind of like neighbors. I agree with Tom that you definitely need a skill set. I'm a writer and I started, I was very much anti AI. But I noticed when I was applying for different jobs, I wasn't really hearing anything back. So I used ChatGPT at first to update and my LinkedIn profile, and I use it to, I guess, synthesize my resume. I started getting callbacks, so I definitely figured that it was like an ATS mismatch or whatever. But overall, I spent a lot of time editing right after, ChatGPT because it gets a lot of things wrong. It pulls, you know, um, sometimes sources that's not really relevant, only because it might be certain keywords that you're trying to look up. So I definitely can tell when people use ChatGPT a lot because the sentence structure will be perfect, but the sentence itself doesn't always make sense. So if you are not a professional writer, you would just probably copy and paste that, and people who are aware of it can, automatically tell that you're using an LLM. I will like to say that I do believe people are overly dependent on AI. I have, I come on Clubhouse sometimes and I hear people talking to each other using ChatGPT to have the conversation. So it defeats the purpose of communicating, I think, when people have to ChatGPT something, an argument or a point of view. Conversations should be between humans. I should not need, or people should not need assistance to have a conversation, if that makes sense.
Fabulous. Good stuff, Tom. I always love it when we meet somebody new, and we always encourage people to come up on stage. If you didn't get a chance today, we're not done yet, but if you didn't get a chance, come next week. But always appreciate somebody coming up, sharing what they have to say, and fabulous. Keep writing. I agree. As Dr. Tachi says to Tom, usually she signs off on that, so I sign off on that. Tom, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I agree too. I think I was just kind of looking at the comments. I didn't have them open, and then you mentioned that people were kind of going at it in them, and so I figured I'd take a look. But this C Mobley person who I think has left the room or left the, I don't know, what is this, and is it a room, is it a room, is it a house, like whatever, Clubhouse's terminology is all crazy. um uh but yeah, it's funny, I think he was saying in response to me that if you don't know how to prompt, just say that, when I was talking about how sycophantic it can be. And I'm like, that's a feature of the software. It doesn't have anything to do with whether or not I'm good at prompting, or, and I'm not saying I'm the best at prompting, right? But like, it's just a weird, I don't know, it looked like he was trying to pick a fight, but just a weird thing. And he's like, you guys are just upset because it levels the playing field. And it's like, I don't think so. I think we're talking about it in terms of like a tool and how it's used and how it's adopted. I heard an interesting take on it this morning, actually, in a video, and it was a woman who's a computer science engineer. She's worked in large language models and AI development for Meta and for another company that was acquired by Anthropic, I think she said. But anyway, her take was like, it used to be like, the metaphor that she drew was, it used to be not optional to sort of be physically active, right? Because the majority of jobs that were available to people required you to be physically active. So it used to, 150 years ago, it used to not be an option to be physically active. You were physically active by default, most people, right? And now being physically active is a choice, because most of our jobs don't require us to be active, or a lot of jobs, I mean, white collar jobs, that have become sort of the norm, or a majority of employed positions don't require you to be physically active, right? We spend a lot of time sitting at desks and being sedentary. So in the same way, she's saying that, like, basically being AI proficient, or having an understanding and a working knowledge of AI is optional, right? But if you choose not to, you're going to be sort of left behind, right? You're going to suffer negative consequences. In the same way, if you choose not to exercise, you will suffer negative consequences over the course of your life, right? Like it's very straightforward. It's very simple. People who exercise tend to live longer than people who don't, right? And I think the point she was making in a similar way is that people who use AI are going to tend to be more productive and be more employable than people who don't. And I think it's just like, you know, it's sort of it's going to become ubiquitous in our daily lives the same way that email did, right? You know, 30 years ago, right? 30 years ago, email was a brand new thing, and people were kind of eschewing it, and they were like, "Nah, I don't know. I still prefer to handwrite all my letters. I handwrite all my notes. I do this. I do that." And where are we now, right? Everybody has email access sort of 24/7 on their computer, on their phones, right? Email is available to us all the time, everywhere we go. It is the definition of ubiquitous, right? So like, I think AI is going to end up in that direction. Like these large language models are going to end up being as prevalent in our daily lives as email is. So, question is, are you gonna try to resist that? Are you going to dig in your heels and be stubborn, or are you going to learn how to use it to your advantage? Right? You know, 100 years ago, my family in New York City owned a horse farm, believe it or not, right? Like that was 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago. That was a profitable business in New York City, right? Was owning a horse farm because everything relied, all transportation of people and goods relied on horses, right? And so they had a horse farm, and then the automobile came out, right? And they had a choice, right? Do we keep trying to have a horse farm in New York City, or do we accept the fact that horses are no longer going to be a viable, profitable business in New York City and shift, right? And they shifted. So instead of having a horse farm, they subdivided the property and created a co-op and allowed people to build houses on them, and they retained ownership of the land. People leased the land under their houses from the family, et cetera, et cetera. You can read all about it in History of the Bronx. It's called Edgewater Park. But anyway, like that was my family's business in New York City in the 1800s. But you know, they had to adapt because otherwise they would have gotten left behind. And I think we're in a similar situation with AI.
So true, Tom. Well done. This is not the smartest guys in the room today. We're talking, is the whole world dependent on AI? The comments are still going. Somebody says in the bottom, how's it going for people using it? It's going great. I mean, I use it all the time. I met a gentleman that his business, to what Tom was talking about, his name is John Abraham, and he came up with something called the OIQ quotient, and it's basically your IQ when using AI. And he sells this to big companies now when they have an employee, knowing AI is here, right? AI is upon us. People are using it. So this shows how an employee is going to use AI. And he used the example, are they going to think expansively like Jimi Hendrix might use AI? Or are they going to use it to do a basic task that he could have asked AI to do himself? And he said that, so this OIQ, I wish I knew what those stood for right now, what the O in OIQ was, but big giant companies right now saying, we get that it's here. Now let's figure out, are the people using it right? Or are they using you? Tom's, are you looking at OIQ? John Abraham is the thing. JR, we're coming to you in a minute, but first we got part of our show. We got to do our PSAs. Me and Tom jump on and things that are good, bad, or that we just want to give the world a PSA about. That's next. So what do you say, Tom? You ready, or you want me to go?
I can go ahead and go first, and then we'll go to you. All right. So here we go. All right. So I've been driving for a long time, right? I'm 47 years old. That means I've been driving for a little over 31 years at this point, right? And I learned when I took the written test in New York State, you have to take a written test to get your permit. When I took the written test, one of the things on that test was what lane you should be in on a divided highway, depending on what you're doing. And the rule is that you stay right except to pass. And so I don't know where other people are learning how to drive, how they're getting their driver's licenses, how they're passing the written test, let alone the actual driving test. But just a little PSA to everyone out there that gets in a car and drives down a divided highway. The left lane is for passing. Do not pull out and slow down in the left lane. You're going to cause an accident. Stop it. Bad driver. That's all I got.
Well done, Tom. I'm noticing, Tom, that traffic is something that makes you mad. Highway traffic. We got bike traffic. We got people on the road traffic, driving too slow, whipping people fingers. This is telling about Tom. There are a lot of traffic related PSAs.
I mean, who doesn't get frustrated by bad drivers?
That's
like,
true.
Find me someone who does not get frustrated by bad drivers.
The other day, I was behind somebody. I wasn't even close to them. They were driving. They were driving so slow, Tom. I wasn't even close. They stopped before a turn, and then reached up and gave me the finger. And I'm like, I don't even know what this person's giving me the finger about. I haven't been near them. You didn't turn at this turn. So okay, Tom. Maybe I'm there with you. So I hear you.
See, it's not just me. Everybody hates bad drivers.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something I hate here. Set me up, my friend. PSA clock ready to roll here. Okay, let's see what I got. Reset that. That says 19. Come on, man. That's a bad clock. I'm seeing 17 seconds, 16 seconds. Tom says it's not, but that's what my picture says.
It says 45 on my side.
Oh, so weird. Why does mine say 12? Come on, man. This computer's all bad. Take it off. Give me a new one. All right, there we go. I'm good. I don't need it. All right. So today, my PSA, Tom, something I'm mad about, and I am mad about this. If you are invited to a party, if you are invited to somebody's home as a guest into this home, you walk into this home. Do not comment on negative things about their house, about their food, about what's going on. You don't have the right. Quit picking on everything in their house. I don't get it unless they asked you directly. What do you think about this? And even if they asked you directly, maybe be kind about it because you are a guest in their house. I see so many people, Tom, going into other people's parties, into their houses, pointing out this, pointing out that. Do you think the person that lives there hasn't noticed it before and they deemed based on their life level of importance of that thing? And if they didn't fix it at that point, shut up about it. Do not go and be rude and give your thoughts when somebody invited you as a guest and they did not ask your opinion. There you go, Tom.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Who does that? Who goes to someone's house and then nitpicks their house? First of all, it is clearly behavior designed to make themselves feel better, right? They are clearly trying to position themselves as better than the person whose house they're in. And for that, I know we're not on this right now, but they get a thumbs down, right? I know it's not Tom's thumbs, but I'd screw it. I'm breaking the rules. I'm giving them a thumbs down. Because if your ego is so fragile, if you are such a delicate little flower that the only way you can feel good about yourself is by making other people feel bad, then get on BetterHelp and get yourself a therapist because you have a lot of problems to deal with. You have a lot of issues to deal with. Yeah, I mean, who is doing that? Unacceptable, not cool. If you find yourself in a position where you feel like you have to put someone else down to make yourself feel better, then you seriously have some stuff to work through. That's something you have conversations with middle schoolers about, right? This is juvenile behavior. If you're a grown ass adult, act like a grown ass adult, right? Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
Thank you, Tom, for the support. And if you don't know you're doing it, figure it out because it's rude and you're coming off like a jerk. So I could go more specific here, but I'm not going to. But yeah, just terrible thing. This is not the smartest guys in the room. JR, we told you we're coming to you. We've been talking about is the whole world too dependent on AI, and we only got a few more minutes here, so make it quick. But we're glad you're here, JR. What do you got for us?
Oh, thank you for inviting me to the stage. Join the conversation. For me, I can definitely appreciate AI adding to the productivity side. However, only thing that I'm just curious about is just how to compete with its influence. I mean, depending on where you are in life, like if you want a family or relationships, or how do you balance that out if the other person is getting information from AI, and depending on the context that it's receiving, I mean that's a whole nother thing. So yeah, that's the only thing that I pretty much have an eye on.
Okay, I got an answer for you. Use it as a tool, man. Be the best at using the tool. I don't think there's anything that you should be afraid of. So, Tom, and go on. What do you got for JR? Then let's go to Hurt. Go on.
No, man, I think you covered it. I don't have anything to add there. I think I want to go to Hurt because I'm curious to hear their take on this conversation that we've been having. Hurt said in the chat that they're an AI architect. I would love to give their 2 cents. So here's your chance. Throw a couple of pennies in. What do you got?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks a lot for the room. So, what I do, they don't even have a name for it yet because I build software using AI. I know nothing about coding, and AI taught me coding and how to put stuff together. And I've built a couple of programs. The one that's public now is Lean Apex. And what I did was I have 12 agents that literally goes out. I live in Houston, Texas, and we are a tax deed state. And one of the difficult things is the research that's required to get into the tax deed industry. Well, I just created software that's literally online now that you can go to my software and just pick your house that you want to bid on and then just show up on the first Tuesday. It does everything for you. There's nothing else out there. There's nothing like that out here today. And and I know nothing about coding. Well, I'm learning, but I know nothing about coding to be able to pull this level of expertise off. And what I'm seeing, because there's only 17% of the world that's dealing with AI like we're dealing with AI. There's really not that many people dealing with AI like people think they are. Large corporations are dealing with AI, and individuals like you and I are dealing with AI, but most of the world doesn't even know it exists or doesn't know how to use it. And so, in closing, what I'm finding is that AI is about to open up the door for people with incredible imagination and good communication skills, but no knowledge. And that's there. We are about to change the world. People like that.
Hurt, good stuff, man. And I appreciate someone you're using it as a tool, man, and figuring out, okay, I'm going to use it to do this, this, and this. Great stuff. And I think anybody here, like we talked about Jimi Hendrix using it expansively. I think you are using it expansively. You're not saying make me something, steal something from what everybody else did and make me uh, a repurpose what everybody else did and produce the same
I
thing.
use it for my relationships too. Like I've gotten to an argument with my son and I used AI for that. I was out in public and there was this good looking woman and I wanted to talk to her, but I wasn't sure. So I asked AI what I should do, what I should say, how I was feeling, and AI walked me through it. And then there was this one time where I put my headphones in and I told AI, I said, "You're an observer and you're looking for statements in the conversation that I probably won't hear or see. And so the person's talking to me and AI is like, this individual doesn't like you.
Huh. All right. Hey, you had me at hello. I don't know. Keep on rolling, my friend. Okay. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We're about to wrap. Usually I do memory lane, but we had so much good nostalgia today that my summer's coming. I'm off next week, Tom. I'm going to be out of town, living near beaches and things like that. So my memory lane is if you love something, follow it. Find that thing. Tom, you got to wrap us. This was a good one, a wild one today. What do you got for us?
Is that your way of saying we had too much nostalgia today? Is that your way of saying I talked too much?
No, I asked you about boardwalks. I wanted boardwalks, and you gave it to me. So come on.
Cool. All right. Well, so here's the thing: is I would say I think by way of a wrap up, I'll just keep it very simple. We are living through what is the sort of digital equivalent of the Wild West right now, right? AI, the ability and skills that you can harness through AI, the tools that it provides for you, the new opportunities that it opens up has created a bit of a Wild West moment, right? There's a lot of people kicking up a lot of dust right now. It's a little crazy, but if we hang on, things will settle down, right? Naturally, some of the competition that we're seeing will settle out. Some of the AI companies that have rose to prominence in the last couple of years will ultimately fail, right? And we will see some consolidation, some streamlining, and some industrialization of the AI as an industry. It will become sort of a distinct vertical on its own, right? I think going forward. So hang on tight for now. It is a bit of the Wild West out there. Keep using it, experiment with it, play with it, learn it, because it is going to be around for the foreseeable future, definitely through our working lives for sure. And then, yeah, I mean, I think have fun with it, but build that skill set now, right? Because as the dust settles out and it continues to be used and continues to improve, that skill set, that ability to utilize AI is going to prove invaluable to all of us. So that's all I got for this week. Thank you guys all for being here. As always, Dom and I appreciate you and love you. You guys are the reason why we are not the smartest guys in the room. As Dom mentioned, we're off next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks. In the meantime, you can always, if you're feeling like you need a little fix, if you need a memory lane or a Tom's Thumbs or a PSA, or just want to hear us talk about nonsense, as we often do, make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast app. You can find Not the Smartest Guys in the Room there. You can always catch a replay on a variety of YouTube channels, right? Just throw Not the Smartest Guys in the Room into Google. You'll find us, right? Promise. So make sure you check us out there. We're off next week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, we love you guys. We appreciate you. We thank you. And we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.